Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of DaGamer Podcast. I am Antonius the Gamer, joined by my co-hosts, Super SS Rank and Timothy Smith. Thank you, fellas, for another return to episode 4 of the podcast. We have a lot to get through. One of the benefits of adjusting the schedule for this week, Summer Games Fest is now concluded. All 5 days, all the showcases are done, all the behind-the-scenes interviews and breakdowns and reveal trailers for all these different publishers and platforms. And, let's just start off with that. How did you guys feel about the way Summer Games Fest went down? Do you guys feel like it is the rumored and whispered about a potential E3 killer that they've been saying it is? Is there things that you guys thought were done well? Is there things that you guys thought were done better? Either one of y'all can start.
It was okay.
Okay.
It was generally okay to me. Announcements and how we do announcements now have changed to a more economical friendly way, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean by okay. It was economically friendly. Like, hey, we got Jeff Keighley here and, here's some announcements. It's almost like a VGAs, but not really the VGAs.
Okay.
Like basically just showing updates, for the upcoming, I would say, late summer, fall, winter seasons releases, or like early next year. But it was good. The biggest thing was, the Mortal Kombat gameplay release. I loved it. Really looking forward to see, what they doing with the story. I feel like we got a good taste of how we saw the characters. Like, yes, familiar elements, but, a new, gotta say, for as Chronica says, a new era.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And seeing it, you said it was okay, you feel like there was anything that they could have done better, or you just feel like it was just okay in the sense of there wasn't much more they could have brought to the table in that circumstance?
Definitely to the table. I do feel that, yes, we're getting new releases that we've been waiting for a while. I guess we've just been so starved for so long that we've just been expecting 10 out of 10 caliber all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like, what was showcased was a good enough, I would say, appetizer and a decent meal for what's to come.
Okay. Jory, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. I still can feel the E3 of the past later years. So Summer Game Fest, I wouldn't say is the E3 killers. It's just to me, it's quarantine E3.
Even with the return of because this, I think this was the first year they went back to in person, right?
Yeah, but it's not as E3 was like almost an amusement park. It was for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
It was for everybody. Developers themselves were excited. People would purposely schedule release dates for games. E3 would kind of be like the advertising convention. It would be it was a gaming convention for everybody.
Right.
You get to test the games. You get to have live feedback versus online feedback as to, if you're a game developer.
Mm-hmm.
You get to have special treats, special. Oh, I was at E3. It was an event, man, for gamers, for people like us. We can socialize. I think we need socialization back again.
Mm.
Games are always social, buddy to buddy. Online is cool, but it just doesn't hit the same,
Right.
And of course, we graduated from the split screen TV screens, but community, that's how we are naturally as human beings. We play a game and there's no NPCs. The game is technically dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not gonna. It's needed. I'd rather something than nothing.
Right.
But I don't think it's an E3 killer. I mean, I think it's fine. And I wasn't even expecting anything from this year. We're coming out of. We're now getting to see the daisies in the sunshine. So I do not expect these developers to have anything to give to us. If anything, I'm glad they have more time not to give us heaps and messes and piles of trash.
Right, of glitch, incomplete. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I think what you said too about the I guess you could say like the ecosystem, right, of E3. That was something, right? I remember, we all kind of grew up on it, and it's just watching the evolution of it went from announcements, it went from developers bringing out trailers to full-on showcases within the show. Then you had the inclusion of like the cosplay elements, right, where it's like the E3 booth babes, or there was always something of like, man, you're deep diving into your favorite gaming forum because somebody was risky enough to get that cell phone clip of the behind closed doors footage of the game that everyone was talking about on IGN. It's true. I think some of that does kind of get lost when things move to more of an online environment. Granted, I think, if I'm correct, it was the first year of in-person, like the return of an in-person audience. So it has potential in terms of kind of building that ecosystem again. From what I've heard and other podcasts and shows that I've listened to, it seems like part of the reason why they went that route is just because the real estate in LA is just too expensive, right? The amount that it costs nowadays for a booth, in LA for these events is just ridiculous, and companies aren't willing to pay that. So I think with that, I feel like they did the best that they could given the resources. I actually thought that in terms of a showcase, it wasn't that bad. I think Jeff seemed to be going for a lot of exclusives, right? So although some of them were a little silly, right? Bringing out Insomniac to reveal some Spider-Man 2 art and give us a release date. I'm like, this could have been a tweet, to be honest. We didn't need an on-stage announcement. While I appreciate Nicolas Cage's enthusiasm, I'm like, I don't play Dead by Daylight, so you doing this does nothing for me. Also don't think that, although I understand the intent, I don't think that this was the crowd to do that exclusive featurette of Twisted Metal on Peacock. I'm like, it's not giving what it's supposed to give. In terms of bringing in the audience, I do think the highs were very high in hindsight. Like Tim said, I think having Mortal Kombat 1 rolled out, I think, not just the same old teaser trailer, an actual trailer, an approach of what the story's going to look like, which we're going to get into shortly, of just like, hey, these are all these things in the lore. How do you change that and still have it make sense? I think they, they kept that in mind. And so far, it looks really promising. Having, Ed Boon come out and talk about, give a lot of details, looking like they're going to kind of gear up for a really good summer of his rollouts and trailers in regards to the characters that we're going to get. There was a bit of a lull, right? I think we talked about it in the group chat where there was a lot more first-person shooters than I would have expected. Just kind of back to back to back to back. But for me, I'm like, all right, you started off strong. You had a couple of let's just say mid points. And then for me personally, I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan. Although Ever Crisis looked a little the Rebirth trailer got me. It got me. More of an open world game. There's team up combos. The story looks like it's heading in an interesting way, just like with the first game. I'm like, all right, they know what they're doing. So to me, I felt like it started strong and ended strong, in my opinion. All right. And with that, unless y'all had any closing thoughts about that, we're going to move into the very next topic from that show, which, of course, is Mortal Kombat 1. Now, in terms, we obviously talked about it was a big segment of our first episode, right, of our predictions of what we thought about the inclusion of cameo characters, of all the things that was being teased and leaked and unconfirmed and reconfirmed and things like that. And I think I'll start off, some of the things that we discussed, I think really hit home. I really love what they're doing with Melina in terms of, the conflict that she has with Katana isn't just the age-old thing that we've seen for the past couple of decades, right? It's two sisters who should, for all intents and purposes, be getting along, but the seeds of distrust are there versus them just, Katana always, holding out the olive branch and Melina turning it down. It's just like you can see where there's a more complicated relationship. Not quite sure that I don't think they did as much, at least in this trailer, to kind of convince me of how the Scorpion Sub-Zero Brotherhood is going to work as of yet. That kind of remains to be seen. So I don't have much to say about that so far, but in terms of, if I had to rate it on the scale of NetherRealm and Ed Boon really listening to what some of the fans' questions were, I feel like they did a really good job of addressing them out the gate. Like, yes, Liu Kang is truly Fire God Liu Kang. Yes, he's not taking as much of a passive role as Raiden did in later games. You know, yes, we're going to give him a more aggressive and elemental moveset. Yes, Kenshi's back. He's not a skeleton in the crypt. He actually might be gang affiliated. You know, like there's just all these things that they kind of out the gate, just like boom, boom, boom. You guys asked about cameos. Here's cameos. Here's how cameo works. Here is a cameo combination, fatal blow. Here's a cameo combination, fatality. Right? I think they did a really good job of, like, for a game that we have been hearing about, they did a good job of, in my opinion, of laying down what we're going to expect in this game in September. What are your guys' thoughts?
Like I said, man, I'm big on very story and lore, so I was very interested in what I saw. A lot of our predictions from like the last episode came true, like when we saw the teaser trailer. Like, what I did like was, you know, the relationship, like, go back to what you said, between Melina and Kitana. So it looks like, you know, this time around, Melina is the older sister, and then now they're actually biological sisters. Mm-hmm. One is a clone of the other, mixed with Shang Tsung's like magic and all that other stuff. Like, no, like there are actually blood sisters. Mm-hmm. You know, but she's not half Tarkatan this time. Apparently, she has like a pharaoh like disease, which is changing her physique to, you know, now. So basically, maybe she's like a Tarkatan werewolf or something like that, and you just never know. And you know, yes, like I said, you know, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, like, you know, there's been some confirmation that this is the elder brother, so Sub-Zero, which adds a very interesting dynamic, because, you know, most of the time we're always used to that story in the lore being fast forwarded.
Right.
And so there was a feud between them. Scorpion became an undead warrior. Scorpion came back, killed him, and, you know, the younger brother took his place, and then, you know, they kumbaya.
Right.
But then I am liking the fact, like, okay, so this is Bihan, so we're now getting to see more of his personality, I would say, before he became Noob Saibot.
Right.
How? So what's the fate of the young brother? Have a role in the story. Even in looking at the stages, you could tell, like, you know, we're gonna get some very interesting takes on realms. Because it looks like maybe Outworld and Adinia are still one, but not in a very savage, apocalyptic land-looking way.
Right.
It's actually very floral, very, very nice, things of that nature. The cameo system, it's okay. It's cool. It's definitely a nod to NK9's tag system that they had. So, you know, they brought it back in some spiritual form of way. Kenji, I really loved his design. He definitely looks more of like a Yakuza type of warrior, and of course, you know, originates from those elderly times. So, like, you know, it's a family heirloom that probably got lost up. So, and I really like the changes in his fighting style. Like, there's like a ghost warrior spirit that comes out.
This man got a stand from JoJo now.
Yeah, bro, it's giving me like Shaman King type of vibes.
Yeah.
So I'm really liking that. And of course, we saw, you know, what I'm interested to see, the new Shaolin monk rivalry between Kung Lao and Raiden.
Yeah, rather than Kung Lao and Liu Kang. Yeah.
Interesting. Even in terms of like when they showcase Raiden, like to see like, oh, so this is not the Raiden that we know. So the Raiden who gave his powers to Liu Kang died. So this is a freshly new Raiden. So,
or at least a reincarnation of the same Raiden. It's unclear.
Yeah, it's unclear because, you know, you still see lightning powers, but is it like magic or through some other type of means? So I guess, you know, as the story unfolds, we'll definitely know more. It was good to see like the Johnny Cage stage. Like, you know, he's a very established actor. Got the penthouse, Malibu, cliffs,
pool in the back.
They're taking, like, the art direction is looking very, very good. So I'm really looking forward to what they're doing with this.
Okay. Troy, what do you think?
Um,
You've been stone faced the whole time, so I know you about to.
I think in the story, Kenshi's gonna lose his eyes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not mad at it, man. The only thing I thought was kind of like weird was Sub-Zero and Scorpion being brothers. I felt like they could have still be separated clansmen. They didn't have to be rivals anymore. But being brothers is kind of like okay.
Like essentially two
So,
same
like,
thing, two different clans, but like they have a
male
treaty.
Yeah, they could have still been two different clans. They didn't have to be rivals like how we got in the past, but they didn't have to be brothers. Now all I see is male Katana and male Melina.
That's
You
fair.
know what I'm saying? That's what I thought was kind of like. I was like, we already have this.
I mean, to shoot up some bail, we just don't know enough yet, right? There could be more to it, but you're right. At an initial glance, I would agree with you. It's just the male version of the same thing.
You know,
that's what they always were.
Huh?
Technically, that's what they always were.
Yeah, but they won't.
When you look at the female ninjas and the male ninjas, you realize they have the same even numbers.
That's true. It was always supposed to be kind of that synchronicity to some degree. Yeah,
but that was more so to do with limited technology, you feel me, and bad art direction, dog. So I can't really, can we really be like, that's what they really wanted, and that's all they really wanted to plan and have to, it's a 2 and 2 thing. That's why is in Halo 3. Why in Halo 3 can't I swim? I mean in the original Halo Combat Evolved, that's like saying why in original Halo Combat Evolved can I not swim or go into space right after I'm playing? No, it's like the technology is limited. I'm sure they would have done it, but they just couldn't.
Okay.
But back to Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I'm not mad. Shang Tsung is gonna be weird if he's a part of the story. So, so are both versions true, and they converge, and Shang Tsung finds out, whoa, this fire Liu Kang is different from the.
To be honest, I feel they're pulling like a MKX, like what they did with Goro.
Mm-hmm.
Like Goro was not in the story, but he was a pre-board or a bonus. Because I do kind of feel like that is redundant after Aftermath. Like, bro, we kind of like already went through already.
Aftermath did a really good job of kind of bringing back the original big bad for one big finale. Which it's again going back to our other episode. It's like it makes me think that they will not be using Shang Tsung as a big bad for this game. He just won't be the big bad. Whoever they're deciding to pick, he'll still play a part. He'll probably be mentioned in name. But like Tim said, he's going to be the Goro, where like he'll be in the game, but won't be the conflict of the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I like what I saw. Can we talk about how the game played out, or are we still talking about story?
No, we can talk about the game, how the game played out. I was going to ask you guys how you felt about the graphics.
Oh, the graphics it looks a little more simplified, maybe because it's in its early stages still. It doesn't look better than 11, in my opinion. It's weird. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It did give me 11.5.
Yes.
5.
Yep.
There's definitely a good level of polish, I would say. The cut they ramped up the coloring.
Yeah. The lighting and the saturation is A1.
Even like the character designs and textures, like it's a bit more sharper. So like it's definitely 11.5. It's definitely 5 in terms of graphics.
The cameo system was like, for me, I was like, why don't you just add tag characters?
I don't know. We don't know. I don't know.
Because this is like,
oh no.
It's just like, why don't you just do it?
Just do a tagging system, please.
Yeah, I'm like, just do it. The combos is already looking tag worthy, right? Some of the combos Kenshi was doing was like bananas, and let's not even talk about Raiden's moveset. Raiden's moveset in the trailer, I was just like, yo, this game is gonna be there's so much freedom.
I mean, the history that I've seen with NetherRealm is they love their NPCs. So I do feel like this cameo system is a way to like cover both of that in a sense. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you like, remember how we did with MKX where Rain and Tanya just did a couple of moves and you had to beat them anyway? Like, I feel like that's the same thing with this. Like, oh yeah, like, you know, limited mobility with these characters. Like, yes, some of them will be playable characters, but some of them not. Because, you know, we wanted to bring back this character in a way that we might sell you later.
Yeah, I think Tim's right in the sense of like, you know, we keep wanting them to do. I can't say right by us, right? It's hard to say, you know, what a developer has in mind when they're planning the game, but we know what we want, right? We absolutely want a tagging system. Even with the cameo system, you could see like you could literally just do the same exact thing with tag characters. But I think to Tim's point of like this isn't in NetherRealm's history. Like this is just what they do, and I think in a way of them trying to correct it, like look, you guys are going to continue to get NPCs. This is just what we do, but we'll compromise a bit and give you these characters where it's like, even if we don't put Kano in the game, you can still do his fatality. You can still use Sonya in your combo extender. You know, they'll still be there. They won't just be, well, you did the model, you did this, you gave them a moves, why not make them playable? It's like, well, we're not making them playable, first of all. But you'll still be able to implement them. And it's like their presence will be felt in a nutshell.
Oh man, I mean, yeah,
It's cheap.
okay.
Is it cheap?
I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, you know. It wasn't bad. It was just it's different. Raiden's gonna be interesting. The Bihan, is he gonna still be Noob? Is the little brother gonna be Noob Cybot? Many questions.
That's a good question.
Kenshi's Black Dragon now, because obviously.
I mean, well, remember, like, the younger brother's code name was called Tundra, so maybe, all right, if they do introduce him as Tundra, like, is there, like, a different style of moveset or that nature? Like, who's to say, like, you know, they have to do that route of, like, him becoming new Cybot? Like, because, like, you know, for example, since they did say they're going to be using a lot of classic characters, like, from Mortal Kombat 1 all the way to, I would say, probably like Deception era. We're definitely getting Sector Science, Folk, but I don't want to see this cyborg stuff. I don't want to.
Sujinko, no, bro.
Oh, bro, like no more mimic characters, bro. You gotta get out of the game, bro. No more.
They're gonna bring him back. He's not gonna be a mimic character. He's gonna fight like somebody who's dead.
He's going to be a mimic character. Sujinko had no story but be a pawn. Mimic character.
It's a new universe. Why not? That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We got a new Raiden. Why not a new Sujinko?
Well, technically, you did get a new Sujinko between Mortal Kombat 9 and 11. But guess what? He was just a character they spoke about in the background.
Yeah. It's something where, like, honestly, Jory, like, unless they're open to doing more retcons down the road, I think Tim's right. You're not going to get them because it's like they'll dabble in something, and if it doesn't work, it's like it never happened. Never. You know, that whole little stint where they made Sub-Zero into a cyborg at the end of 9, and they're like, somehow between 9 and 10, he got his body back. Like, but don't they destroy his body to give him the cyborg body? So how did he get?
Yeah,
all right, y'all got it.
Listen, I mean, I don't know what they was thinking. Like, that's like turning Goku into Raiden. Nobody's going for that.
Yeah, it was a cool what if. It was a cool what if, but it's just like Tim says, like the cyborg initiative, like it doesn't seem like it's they're not doing anything with it. What's the point?
Well, Sub-Zero got his body back through the comics, like Quan Chi. Magic,
of course.
They put his soul in an undead body.
I don't know who's a better practices of magic, the dude from Bleach or Quan Chi. They both got to compete, man.
Who, Mayuri?
Yeah, the doctor from Bleach.
Yeah, yep.
Or Quan Chi. I don't know who's better.
What is this impossible thing that needs to happen? Well, don't you worry.
Exactly.
Got this Deus Ex Machina in my back closet. Don't worry, I got you.
Do you guys do realize that they borrowed from the live action YouTube movie with giving Melina the disease, because that's how they introduced Baraka.
Mm.
Baraka had an actual disease, and it started to mutate him.
Okay.
I didn't see the YouTube series, so
it was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but that's good. Like, sometimes, like, me and Anthony have this conversation all the time. Sometimes fan theories make absolute sense.
Or actually make for better writing.
So, we contribute to the writing in some form of a way, man. But overall, to get back on topic, I think, like, Mortal Kombat is in a good place. I do feel like, in terms of marketing and, even with this new beta that's coming out, I definitely want to, like, really...
Beta coming out?
Yeah,
it's a closed beta for right now. And then an open beta, I think, later into the summer.
I definitely want to see, like, what is the depth of this real game. And I'm really looking forward to, like, more character reveals.
Mm-hmm.
Because, especially, like, where we are now with video games, with these new systems and, them being $10 more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Anthony's philosophy way high right now. Like, bro, this has to make sense to buy it.
Yeah. I will never shy away from it. This needs to justify the price out the box. I don't want, down the road, because we know the history of fighting games, right? Like, we know at some point there will be the ultimate edition that gives us everything we ever wanted for that entry. I'm like, but out the box, it's still $70. It's still 4 years of development time to give me this game. I haven't gotten a new Mortal Kombat entry in years. Justify the price, please. I don't want to hear, we had to go and shoot this in 8K off of a blue screen. No, then don't do that. Justify the price for me to spend $70 out the box.
Well, then how are we going to make money? Dog. I'll say one thing. I do feel that Ed Boon had a lot of fun making this version.
It seems like it. He seems reinvigorated.
I like that Ed Boon because that's the Ed Boon that wanted to try something new with the 3D Mortal Kombat. It didn't quite go as well, but he's still proud of it when he talks about Armageddon and Deception. You can go and revisit. There's he's still proud of it. So there's obviously something that he wants to kind of like revisit and make kind of like do a newer version, because he was very proud of Armageddon, man. I remember those IGN quick vids, and even when you have the game, they have the behind the scenes. So I think this is going to be I'm just shocked that you have an American-made game that's more popular than any Japanese fighting game out now.
Yeah, I watched the interview that he did. I think it was with IGN at the game show, and he was saying how when he looks at the history of the franchise, because they asked him like, hey, like you've stayed with this franchise for like 30 years at this point, and he's like, yeah, the amazing thing for him is like we haven't sold as much as we have until MK9, 10, and 11. Like we're doing better than we've ever done before. So it's almost like like you said, like a reinstilled pride of like, okay, we haven't run out of gas yet. We haven't run out of ideas yet. There's still more to be done that can be introduced to this new generation that still makes it just as exciting for us when we were growing up. In a more streamlined and accessible way. Where you're just like, but wait, what happened with this and what happened with that, and what part of this is canon and which part of that is was just a fanfic basically. So it's I thought it started off strong. Like I think it's in a really good place. I think we were talking about last time was like Ed Boon in some ways can be some of the best, and I wouldn't say necessarily the worst, but will open certain things up where it's like obviously he's sticking with his cinematic story, but he's kind of tightening the reins of all this. Let's do this, let's do that. Time skip here, time skip there. It seems like it's a lot more of a grounded approach to the franchise.
Got a question before we move on. Tim, would a interactive story mode be worth the price point for Mortal Kombat?
I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
Would it make sense for you guys?
I'm gonna say no. Still, only because it seems like they are not as confident in branching storyline arcs in their games. The few times that they've done it in the past, those little side, you went here instead of there, it kind of gets dismissed immediately within like the greater lore. So for me, it's like if you don't feel comfortable as a developer going down that route, I'd rather you just not, to be honest.
Or a when I say interactive story mode, not in the sense of making decisions, but more of like a story mode within the game.
Kind of like what
paired up
Street Fighter did.
Like a Street Fighter, or like how Tekken did, like a Tekken Force, but with Mortal Kombat, or even a Shaolin Monks mode. That would make sense to me as a purchase, but
I mean, it would, and if we're going that route, then I would say yes, I'd be down for it. But it's also me kind of being realistic with what to expect from games nowadays, right? Like right before we recorded this, I was reading this article or watching this article earlier, where it's like, look, the purchasing audience, right, of us who play these games, who grew up with, the next sequel might have a 2 to 3 year turnaround. It's like now the average is 4 to 6 for a fleshed out sequel, right? So in our minds, we're thinking like, yo, this game came out 4 years after the last game, but that's the new bare minimum, right? So I think this idea of what I would love, every developer to approach their games like Starfield or like a Zelda, right? Where it's like, we spent 6 years on this, but you're going to play this game until 2025. I think realistically speaking, for a turnaround that's going to turn a profit, 4 to 6 years being the average, those extra modes that would make sense, even like a PS2, Xbox era, might be behind us for the time being.
Got you. Yeah. Understood.
All right, so moving on, at least into the Game Awards, and then we'll kind of branch out to the different showcases. Am I the only person here that's excited about any Final Fantasy related things? Did the 7 trailer not really reach y'all? Is it just me? ISO on me?
Mostly because I'm still pretty late into the Final Fantasy world, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was something that I always grew up knowing around. I even bought the Advent Children DVDs. I love the story mode of it. I love the character designs. I feel like maybe that's just where I am as the audience. I just love the lore.
Okay.
Versus the games, I would like to give it a try one day. Because to be honest, like RPGs of that type of style, bro, like personally to me, they kind of like take over my life. And because you knew me from the Pokemon eras, bro. Like super ham on those back in the day. So it was like, it's like as an adult to really back into that type of lifestyle, bro.
Man, is that bad, dog?
No,
you relapsing?
Tim is a platinum trophy subscriber. Like, I will go back to this game until I see that platinum clink clink across my screen.
Oh man, I would have thought you was going to say like
a picture of the platinum trophy.
Yeah.
What time it is at night? I was sending it to him like, bro, I finished it, and I am deleting this game right now.
Right, games you wouldn't even think he was still playing. He's like, bro, what? He's like, I finally got this platinum, bro. So I get it when it comes to RPGs. When it's like, you need 60 hours to get this hidden golden. It's like, I am a grown man. I don't have the time.
Yo, man, when Monster Hunter dropped, side note, dog, those missions are 50 minutes.
No, bro, no. When you recommend it to me, and I trust your guys' cosigns very dearly, and you told me what the average length was, I'm like, bro, I am good. I cannot. But
Anthony, you could give your opinions about them.
Okay. So for me, like most people who are into JRPGs, I got into it as a child. I think part of the reason why it irked me so much when we were talking about Final Fantasy 16 last podcast is that, Final Fantasy 7 was kind of like one of my entryways. It wasn't the only RPG, but one of the main ones. I think it was that Legend of the Dragoon. I don't know if you guys remember that game. That was like another.
That was good.
It was very good. So there was a couple of introductory, especially on the PlayStation era, really good RPGs. And it was one of those things where I'm looking back, I'm like, yo, it was another black man that put me, a black boy onto these games and this genre, and spending weekends and summer months trying to make it through these 40, 50-hour games. So they kind of see them reimagined in this way, in the way that I would have liked it to be, right? I think for me, as much as I am when it comes to I want things to be a certain quality, I'm very open to change, right? So when they're like, yeah, with 7 Remake, we're doing away with the turn-based system that is no longer relevant to the gaming era we're in. It's going to be essentially an action-adventure, Kingdom Hearts-esque battle system. I'm like, that's exactly what I would have wanted. That's exactly what I would have wanted. And the fact that they've been able to kind of figure out ways to redesign the characters while also kind of keeping them true, not for nothing, to our imaginations, right? I look at these Ultra HD renders of, say, Tifa, right? And for the certain crowd who's like, no, man, her titties were bigger than that. I'm like, no, but she's also a trained martial artist, so she has triple Fs. She's not somersaulting off of an enemy with the same agility. Get your mind out the gutter and let's get practical.
Tsunade could do it. Right.
My favorite cartoon character, waifu, can't do it. Why can't Tifa? Like, well, it's just things like that where it seems like
Sports bras exist, man.
Huh?
Sports bras do exist.
Yeah, sports bras exist.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, if this is a person that we're supposed to, again, obviously it's a fantasy game, but it's supposed to be grounded with some type of realism. If I'm supposed to believe she can move this fast, punch this hard, she can't just be all chest. It's impractical, right? I like the fact that they even took the time with Cloud, where it's like he's carrying a sword the size of his body. So yeah, his biceps aren't massive, but there's enough muscle there. You can see the tone of like, this is what happens when you swing a sword the size of your body time and time again with nimbleness, right? This is what happens when you're essentially a super soldier. So I feel like in terms of what they've been doing, Ever Crisis, I'm like, I told y'all in the group chat, I'm like, sometimes Tetsuya Nomura is going to Tetsuya Nomura. Like, this man will let his imagination do his thing. Like, yeah, I'm sure you guys wondered what the story was with younger Sephiroth. And it's like, not really. Not really. Honestly, we don't need this, but okay. I think in terms of the mainline game, he's been able to kind of take that same creative imagination and do the things that I was hoping to see, right? Everything in the trailer is what I was hoping to see. Dual attacks, the fact that it seems like you can swap out with any of your party member at any time. I think what Tim said with the lore of the characters, I think them, making the time to recognize that it's not just Cloud the series, right? And giving a lot of these other characters, the iconic detail and attention that they deserve, where it's like, even if you guys ever do get into the games, it's a night and day difference of playing with Cloud than it is playing with Yuffie in her DLC. They fight completely different, but also accurate to what you remember as a character. So I think in terms of taking what used to be a turn-based, everybody has one combo, right? Because it's just one swing, one strike, one kick, and giving them a very fleshed out and personality-driven moveset. I'm like, bro, this might be another one day one. Just tell me what it costs. I will be there. So far, so I think for the most part, I think Square Enix as a whole is doing a pretty good job of adapting a very antiquated system to modern day sensibilities. So that's my pedestal with when it comes to JRPGs. I'm not, again, I think I'm a little bit too old for the Dragon Quests and things like that, where it's 40, 50 hours into a campaign, but it's just my bag.
What is Ever Crisis?
So, in a nutshell, sometime either last year or 2021, they announced a Kingdom Hearts approach to the Final Fantasy VII world. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was also a almost like PUBG version of Final Fantasy VII on mobile devices. Yep. Yes, Jory. Yep. The one that quickly closed its doors because nobody asked nor wanted a PUBG Final Fantasy VII. But Square Enix, due to the remake doing so well, they're like, oh, if the interest is there in this world, we will literally just slap any genre with the Final Fantasy VII universe. And I think Ever Crisis is in the same vein in the sense of like it's giving more breadth to the world, right? From what we've seen, it seems to be like here's these other secondary characters that would have been interacting with some of these iconic characters, right? Like what happens to and it may not be something that we care about, but what happens to Soldier Number 34 when he comes to contact with Cloud?
Homie in the cutscene is dead. All right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, right. Ross.
Right. These characters, you're right. So like it's an effort in futility. But I think that's the thought process of like we're gonna kind of approach some of these storyline and story beats from a outside looking in of like here's these other people that are kind of caught up in this madness.
Future Gohan. That's all I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Future Gohan.
Countdown to the inevitable.
He gonna be roadkill, man. Right there.
Countdown to the inevitable. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah. So I'm not too crazy about it.
I think I don't know. I'm actually interested. Like I expected it to be that good. Like so, I guess I wasn't really wowed. I expected it to be more open world because of I see what decision they've made with 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's and that's why 16 is the way it is.
Yeah.
And
to before we move on, I did say in the group chat, y'all, I played the demo of 16 and have some news. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I'm heartbroken. Oh man.
Devastated. Madly pleased. My inner my inner Imhotep, my inner my inner Grand Rising was Arthur fisting the entire time, bro. I was tight. I'm like, yo, this game actually plays pretty well.
Okay.
I kind of want to see how this plays out. Oh no.
Okay, see, I didn't want to say it, but I was like, man, if I get to have a longer Devil May Cry other than what I got from Devil May Cry 5, I'm buying 2 copies, man. And I'm gonna stream it. Yeah. I'm buying 2 copies, man.
Not perfect, right? I think there's certain things like there was a couple of odd beats within the combat system where it seemed like the summon or the icon moves that he acquires seemed a little bit more fleshed out than his basic attacks. And I wasn't super crazy about that because everything kind of comes back to the sword swinging. And the sword swinging kind of felt secondary of like, yeah, the sword swing is kind of like how you kind of whittle down, but everything kind of refers back to using the Phoenix power, using the Ifrit power, using this power,
Okay.
So,
with Devil May Cry influences, I guarantee you he's gonna have a longer extension down the line of combos with the sword.
Which is what I'm thinking. I mean, again, it was a demo. Yeah. It was a demo.
Yeah. So don't even don't even think it's coming secondary. It's just the progression. The sword is going to be the connector.
Got it.
Once you get farther down the line with those type of style games. So
okay, I'm open to it. Again, if we're nitpicking in terms of like, okay, this felt a little, by the numbers with the swinging. I think the other thing too is like, I'm not gonna lie, bro. They did a really good job, especially with making summons the focus of scale. There's a moment in the beginning of the game, and of course, the trailer, the demo's available for everybody. There's a moment at the beginning of the game, and they're showing it in trailers throughout the months, where Shiva and Titan face off. And you're on like a mercenary mission while these two factions are warring with each other. And as you're trying to traverse, it's like you're watching the Attack on Titan rumbling every time Titan makes a step. The ground is cracking, the terrain is shaking because he is a massive, massive, massive earth monster who moves the earth with every step. There's pieces of ice and glaciers falling from the sky because Shiva's shooting ice attacks. I'm just like, yeah, they might got it. They might have it.
The Jin Cherokee, man.
Yeah, no, seriously. The Jin Cherokee. They might have it, bro. There's a part towards the end where again from the trailers, you're playing as Phoenix, you're fighting like a possessed Ifrit, and it's just the scale of what is happening is just, you can tell like there was time and dedicated effort being put into this. This is not like we're going for spectacle, we're going for banging out a copy. It's like you can tell it's very, very focused and very intentional. And I was like, wow, this
God of War 2 compared to 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the intention of 2 with the spectacle of 3. It felt like Poseidon.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Felt like Poseidon. Yes.
That's big. That's big.
I know.
That's big, man.
I know. Again, my inner Imhotep bro was like, oh, no.
And again, that was shown on E3. Which is why E3 was great, man.
Yeah, my all black medallion, was it's just
you threw that out the window.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. It was a very good show. But we can move on. Going into some of the more independent showcases. I felt like I do want to get you guys' thoughts because I think it still was a mixed bag, but Ubisoft. Right, I think personally, right, I was pleasantly surprised by the Prince of Persia game. It felt very, again, intentional in terms of like, clearly they're not doing this as a main entry. Clearly, this is a bit of a spinoff, but a spinoff with passion, right? It's the publishers who made the Rayman Legends remake. They're looking for a more Metroidvania with anime influence, which is very obvious. It's very colorful. It still ties into the lore, and it's like this is a pretty good pre-rollout. It feels like to bringing back Prince of Persia proper. The Assassin's Creed stuff, I don't know. I still don't know. I'm like Mirage,
Capadonna,
bro. And then they announced a mobile version, a VR version. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
For Apple, right?
Yeah. But what are y'all thoughts? How do you guys think about Ubisoft's presentation?
I feel like they've worn out their IPs long enough. I feel like they've done the 2s, 3s, 4, 5, 6, revamp it and remake 1, 2. Like they've done it enough.
Yikes!
Like yeah,
England, Victoria, England.
Like the Prince of Persia one, I was very surprised because I thought that they were really trying to really focus about this remake, but I guess they just said no and just scrapped it from the beginning. Yeah, they didn't have to make an announcement about it, so I guess this is their way of saying like, hey, yeah, we know you guys didn't like that, so here's something new-ish. I did like the fact that it's no longer a focus on the prince; it's actually a servant of the prince.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely has more warrior within type of influences. He's very aggressive, very I've even seen from trailers dude get stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
He gets stabbed and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. Assassin's Creed, like I said, man, I feel like Assassin's Creed has really hit, I would say, the end game burnout. Everything after Eisen is it was like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I feel like they've hit that point. The location is interesting. It's in the golden age of Baghdad, the Middle East, but it's just it looks boring. I feel like you overused this formula so much that I would have just rather golden age of Baghdad game, in terms of what was the economics like, or was there a current villain,
Baghdad the game.
Yeah, what not call it Sands of something. Call it the Sands of something and call it a day, man. But I do feel like they've allowed their creativity to stay in a box.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's in terms of Far Cry 6, you're starting to see the end game burnout is starting to sink in, bro. So you don't really know where they want to go with this story, especially after what happened at the end of 5, canonically.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of so where do you even go from there? bro.
Unless, again, maybe they're just now that these things are their own independent universes per game. Because, like you said, 5 was.
But that's becoming a cop out now. Everybody just wants to throw a multiverse at you now, just for the sake of, we don't want to throw away what we did before, but to make it make sense in the now. Oh yeah, it's all part of a multiverse, and it's like, bro, I am so tired of that. I am so tired of that, man. I feel the writer's strike that's going on in the world that is going to hit video games soon as well, in terms of potential new IPs. So what these companies are doing, they're just literally rinse and repeating.
Right.
Like, in terms of their Tom Clancy portfolio is kind of like. We really don't.
Yeah, I think they. Oh, actually, Troy, let me get your thoughts. I want your thoughts. What you thought?
I don't care, man.
Yeah.
I don't care about him losing his finger. I don't care about the Arabian lady that got the cool raspy voices doing the voice of the motherhood. I don't care that they in Baghdad. I don't care that he got it's because it's like I don't care. I'm gonna go into some simulation VR. My name is Desmond. It's not real. I'm going back into my mind. Why?
To unlock your hidden latent abilities.
Potential.
Yeah, passed down by bloodline.
It's dumb when you think about it, man. So I'm like, I just lost. I don't care because there's other games that I can feel the same fulfillment and scaling and discovery. And it's like, when you play Prince of Persia, it's not satisfying anymore. It's like, there's no payoff for me. When I play, versus beating the game, it's still not a payoff. Origins was more interesting because it's Egypt. Who don't like the pyramids? That aesthetic is always going to be interesting in itself. That is the pamphlet for a forest. You know what a forest does for a video game? That's what an Egyptian theme game does, right?
Right, especially in terms of things you can pull from.
Especially in terms of things you can pull from. But it's like, really, man, I just don't care. I don't care about it. When Tim says it's exhaustive, for me, I've had it when they released Syndicate. That's when they should not. They poured them out like Madden.
They did.
Far Cry, Madden. Stop. Stop.
Yeah, all the European Assassin's Creeds did not do well though.
Y'all should have stopped at Black Flag and called it a day. We're going to the French Revolution. We're going to kill Louis XIII. And I stabbed the man in the neck, and I'm having a 30-minute conversation with him after he's dead. You know what I'm saying? I know that's part of the gameplay. They're trying to be artsy, but no, come on.
No, you're right. It's they've tired cliche aside, they milked the cow for all it's worth, and you're really starting to feel it looking at it.
Who's the big bad of Assassin's Creed?
The Templars still, I guess.
And what are they exactly?
Who knows?
That's my whole thing. It's like, dog, I'm not here to play Nicolas Cage, not at the museum or National Treasure. I'm not. No, let me just play Nathan Drake. Then if we gonna do that, man.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't go anywhere for me. It doesn't go anywhere for me. I feel like the next game that they make, take all of everything that you wanted out of Prince of Persia. Assassin's Creed, and make a new game, kind of like what Tim said. This was Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia birthed this.
Yes.
Birthed something else.
Yes.
And Ubisoft, as a whole, man, they're just not those guys, man, anymore, man.
Sad to say.
They're not.
Sad to say.
Does BioWare owns Control, or is that a Ubisoft property?
I'd have to check. Yeah, you keep talking. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah. So I don't care, man. I don't care. When they brought back Ezio, I didn't care even more.
Yeah, Ezio, because even with the VR, they try to promote that with you can play as Ezio. I'm like, I'm tired of playing Ezio.
They should have stopped the Black Flag.
So just for conversation's sake, I think BioWare is owned by EA. Yeah, they're owned by EA.
And is that the Alan Wake people too? No,
Ooh.
BioWare is not Alan Wake. That's Remedy.
Isn't BioWare Bioshock? Or that's somebody else?
No.
Somebody else.
Bioshock is EA.
Yeah, so, I mean, EA owns BioWare.
No, there's BioWare and then Ubisoft. Who's under Ubisoft again? Tom Clancy,
the Far
Extraction. Trash. The Splinter Cell game that came out, like Splinter Cell needs help, period. I feel like it doesn't have any flavor.
They don't know what to do with it. That's why.
Yeah. So a lot of their IPs aren't they mean nothing to me.
Well, okay, and I'm glad I looked this up because I wanted to ask you guys and Tim in particular about this. I mean, Ubisoft is making that open world Star Wars game, Bounty Hunter-esque Star Wars game with the Far Cry formula to it. I don't know. I don't know if I feel that way, Jory, about that. Honestly, I think it's the right choice in terms of it not being another Jedi offshoot story, right? It is, and also kind of playing it safe of like, well, they're not making like a bounty hunter with an established character either. It's kind of like a Cal Kestis, obviously a woman, but like a Cal Kestis is like an original character for this game.
Not even a bounty hunter is actually like in terms of like the criminal underworld. Like, remember that game that got canceled a while ago? Yeah, like they're basically just trying to revamp that, like where it's basically about
which game?
Nah, man. I was saying, it was Star Wars 1313.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it was a game about like the criminal underworld of Star Wars. So that's basically what this is. I mean, it has a cool art direction. I mean, I did love, what they showed. The gameplay is still a little bit wonky to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very stiff, I would say, because even the part where she was like zip lining, I was expecting like, Uncharted 3 type of like
animations,
whipping her corners. Yeah,
it was just like a simple like, oh, she did a zip line and she just went down like almost like a child. I was like, are you not running? That there's like 10 dudes about to shoot you and kill you. But then see, that's also like, the maturity of Star Wars. Like, you gotta know which games to really amp that up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like, all right, this is the criminal underworld. Like, cause like even in Clone Wars, shows like Star Wars, but they deal in drugs in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Spice and all that. They deal in drugs, bro. They're doing drugs. There's human alien trafficking. There's all this type of stuff that is going on during this galactic war.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to see what happens. I mean, I am glad that, somebody else is taking the reins with the Star Wars license.
Mm-hmm.
Because, EA had their crack at it and,
try to microtransaction us to death. Go on.
You know how things went with that. I still like, Respawn, is the golden child right now in terms of what they've developed. So I'm willing to see what they do. I mean, I hope it's not too much Far Cry elements, because if I have to climb a tower,
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. I would say you can bank on having to climb something. It's the Ubisoft way.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. So I'm really like, I'm giving it time. I do foresee that's definitely not coming out this year.
No.
That's definitely something for next year. So I'm looking forward to see what it is.
Yeah, it's also for once set in a different timeline. It's set between Empire Strikes Back and The Jedi Returns. It's not set during the first 3 movies for once. So that's also a different, approach to it.
Yeah, like the Clone Wars prequel era, they've done all that.
To death.
There's no more you can do.
Not enough.
And I know this, especially like, after Return of the Jedi with this whole New Republic thing, they're trying to tread lightly, especially after what happened with the last trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
learn to like tread very lightly about what they bring out there because one side they're saying like, oh, let's retcon the last 3 movies, but this New Republic era, we finally get some good storylines that make sense. But is there going to be a connection, or are we just trying to throw something out? So I do feel like even in terms of story, like with Star Wars transferring over to Disney, there's a lot of new checks and balances you got to work out with.
More of I'd say appreciation for continuity too, of like things tying together in a cohesive way.
Because like especially how the Mandalorian ended, I was like, for season 3, I was like, there's no way y'all just threw away all this progress in these next 3 movies. There's no way. There's no way.
Jory, you don't like any of it?
No, I don't. I'll tell you why. I mean, I'm not mad at it. It's just like just give us 1313, right? Here's my whole thing, right? Because I think a little differently about it. If you're gonna release this game, why give us Kyle Kestis? Why not have Kyle Kestis and her on the same team, or like you choose, how to play the game? Because it's like I don't want to play this, and then because I want a Jedi, right? So I don't see why I want to play this. I was never the guy who's into gunslinging in Star Wars.
Okay,
right?
I see
what I'm saying. I'm not a gunslinger guy. Pew pew pew. Like give me something cooler. And then it's not even the coolest version of a laser shooting gun. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'd rather play as a Jedi, and it seems to be almost looks and reminiscent to each other. The way the direction that Star Wars, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, why not give us a Star Wars where we can create? I could have created my own character in this one, I'd have been all fine with it. Because I don't want to play as a protagonist I don't really like Kyle Kestis. He's better now compared to the first game. But I would have rather they just given us the choice to make our own character, to make it a little bit more personal. Right? If you're going to give us a single player experience, don't force me to play this character. Right now, I'm not in the mood for that. It might change. It's coming out years later, but for me, I'm just give me a single player experience. Like I might as well. If I want to be in this world, why do I have to play as this character?
But you don't think that they could do it in a way that they could introduce weapons of any kind that would kind of pique your interest?
Secondly, I'll get to that. Secondly, I feel like all of the female protagonists as of late, the audience of Star Wars is given a fatigue. Ray Palpatine, they got rid of homie from The Mandalorian. Turns out he was a nobody. This is what I'm hearing, right? Am I wrong?
Which guy?
The Mandalorian guy, because he took off his helmet. Now he's not welcomed anymore.
Oh, I mean that's just more like he's not a nobody. It's just within his I guess you could say religion. It's kind of just like you have to redeem yourself.
I think if you haven't watched season 3 yet.
Didn't she take over? Isn't she like the new Mandalorian?
What do you mean?
Isn't she the main character now? The female chick? I forgot her name.
Bo-Katan?
Yeah.
No, I mean it was just basically like the story was about like a people of like yes, they have their subdivisions of their cultures, but they came together as one people to take back their homeland. And he views her as the leader because it made sense, bro. Like she's basically like a female Vegeta. Like she brought back all the clans, she brought them together. So like he views her as a leader, but he still has his identity because at the end of the day, yes, their home is being rebuilt, but he still has like his outside gigs, and he's going crossing the galaxy to raise Grogu. So she's not taking over. There was a lot of buildup about her character because Bo-Katan is a very pinnacle character in the series. Like even from when she was introduced from Clone Wars, even what you saw like how life was during the Rebels saga. So like yes, she's a big deal, but I would not say she took over. So like I said, he's like, Pedro Pascal is still, he's still technically the Mandalorian, though. But even in terms of what you said about like, creating your own character and stuff like that, it goes back to what Anthony said, continuity, bro. They want these games to connect with the canon story because they realize all this like different, like, continuities of comics, movies, and this, like, it's caused too much. They want one cohesive story, and if you have a great character, it's kind of like, well, you can't really use her anymore.
Right, that's true.
Okay, their cohesive story is not something I would. It's not in a good standing. Like, it's already written in a way now because it's like pre Luke, after Luke. It takes the place between this Luke Skywalker and this Luke Skywalker. I'm tired of them being a ruler in time, period.
So basically, if I'm
hearing you correctly,
you're saying that like these things, if I'm understanding correctly, they don't matter because they all are just either preludes or post stories from the bigger events.
It's like all of this took place between Luke Skywalker's fight with Vader. And it's like, I'm not interested in that timeline anymore because now it's all finite. It has a cap on it now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, this was happening during this time, but it's like, so what? Like, I don't care.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? It's not new.
That makes perfect sense.
It happened all between this bubble, and it's not even long enough lore. It's not like, let's give a good example of what story does it. Naruto doesn't do this. I take that back. One Piece, right?
One Piece
is probably a prime example between Gold Roger's era and that. And stuff happening in between that, but at the same time, the story's progressing forward.
You're absolutely right.
Which makes the story, and not only that, the continuity a lot more free. I don't like stories that are trapped, right? If Luke Skywalker is the pinnacle Jedi, why do I care? If Han Solo is the pinnacle gunslinger, I don't care that there's another gunslinger. I'm tired of these Jedi surviving out of nowhere. And we got another Jedi survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I see what you're saying.
Am I gonna see Chewbacca in the 90th game?
I think you and Tim are more on the same page than you realize in terms of like things that need to take place post movie tie-in.
Yeah, like let's end. Like, I don't care about this Luke Skywalker saga no more. The story it was cool, right? But it's over. Y'all did it with Clone Wars. I seen Revenge of the Sith already. I know Anakin murked children. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I definitely do agree. Because especially that was what the plot about the Book of Boba Fett was. Like, it has its flaws, but it was basically highlighting, all right, so what does the criminal underworld look like after the fall of the Empire? Like, is the criminal syndicates on the rise? Because, there's no Empire who is basically like the police checking everybody. So, like, are we going to be running things? I do feel like, that could have been a good era to really explore, because like how you said, there's really no real cap because, they might retcon the last 3 movies. So that space of time is still open. So yes, like, since they said, but after, The Empire Strikes Back, but before Return of the Jedi, which was only 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, so what are you really going to add, like, canon events? Like, are we going to get references about, oh yeah, them got their eyes beat on Hoth.
Mm-hmm.
Like
dog.
So I do get what you made a good song.
That's a good point, bro. Honestly, you're right.
And not only that, I don't think it's gonna do well because people are like the male audience of Star Wars feels like they've been betrayed a little because of. Now, when I say that, yeah, because we don't even have to. You can go pull up what's happened with what's the Asian girl name that was playing Ray's Backlash.
Even Leia's Backlash.
Leia's Backlash.
When she did that first move in empty space, I was like, all right, bro. You got it.
All right, well,
Yeah, but let me keep going. Let me keep going. Let me finish. Let me hold up.
the last trilogy just sucked to me. I don't count it. Period. I don't count it at all.
Now she's Palpatine's daughter.
Yeah.
Palpatine was shooting lightning bolts at light speed ships from the ground.
I blame Disney for it.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah,
And-
she could heal
and now-
herself. She can meditate with rocks. Her force powers are unlimited. Yeah.
And that's my thing. Like they're tired of they're like, I'm telling you, it's so bad. It's okay. I'm trying to say this in a as what it is, what the environment is, what the market is.
Mhm.
They're not going for that. And because they're not going for that, the reason why is because it was done. First of all, it was forced, and it was done poorly. There's many female characters that's done right. The character from Control, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Even
Oh.
not for nothing, the rebooted look at Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. I think that they handled her very, very well. And like when you play those 3 games,
Yeah, I think 2 is the best one.
2 is the best one. But I think in terms of like having to reapproach that character in a way where it's like she's not a Mary Sue, right? She doesn't know all the things, but she's very competent. Very, like still flawed, but very competent. You could see why this character is able to survive these things. Very smart, very resourceful. Like you can kind of attach yourself to her storyline.
The chicks from Uncharted are cool.
They're
2
great.
chicks,
Yeah, they're
right?
great.
So they're good. Who else? I don't. You guys haven't played Mass Effect, right?
No.
Okay. So they have a very, very good variety of female characters within that story. Up to the first Mass Effects. But with this, it's the market doesn't really, kind of like how the market now we want characters of color, right? Now look at every redhead being traded off for a person of color. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically that's what's going on right now. There's the market for it. Then they're like as for us, we don't have a problem with female protagonists, right? We don't care. We don't have a problem. But for Star Wars, it can happen, but it's just not like as far as right now. Nah, dog.
I think what you're saying is like, all right, for example, the current biggest female character for Star Wars right now is Ahsoka Tano.
Yes,
and
easily.
The reason why is because she has so much depth, like from Clone Wars to her coming back in Rebels to now, like, all right, now we're seeing her post Empire. Now you found out she was alive, and to be honest, I feel she was the one who completed Luke's training after he left Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, because it seemed like he never saw Yoda again. And especially when you find out what the time skip was, like, so you didn't go back to Yoda after you got your arm cut off. So then who completed your training? And then, of course, the Mandalorian comes around. You see, like, I was like, wait, they know each other already? So, there's a story with them. So hopefully we find out more when her show releases. But I get what you're saying. Like, so this character has a cap story.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like, you're not going to really care for her much after this game. And even, the way how Ubisoft model works, is there going to be a part 2?
Almost definitely.
3 or something of that nature. So I get what you mean in terms of like you want a character that really matters.
Yeah. That whole significance.
Or even if it didn't matter, since it doesn't matter already, because it's like, just give me a character that's already created. Since the story's already ended. That's what I'm saying. It's like you don't lose. Even if I make it back in part 2, well, say, okay, you made it back in part 2, because I mean, you're technically not as important as you are to the story. You're important within your own context, but this takes place between Empire Strikes Back, and I'm like, I don't care. The story's done. I care? Do I care that I'm in Dragon Ball Z's final season, right? Boo is done. Do I care that they go back and Oob was always in the mix of the... No, I don't care. I don't care. Like, no. It has no. One thing I always loved about Naruto, they made the dead people feel like I am glad they're dead, because if they were alive, it'd be havoc. The ninjas that we have now that we call it powerful would not stand no chance.
Mm-hmm.
What proved that was when they did the resurrection jutsu, the salamander being alive, the first Hokage from the Cloud Village. You know, the dude with bandages. I said, yo, y'all had Hokages like this in the future, in the past? I'm glad y'all did. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, when you do something like that, it just doesn't have any. It doesn't have any oomph. It doesn't have any poise. It doesn't have any substance to it, man. Yeah, that's how I feel about this whole thing. That's what I have a problem with Star Wars in general. Like, it was like Star Wars is most interesting in the Old Republic. Period. Yeah, I say that.
I'm about to say that's hard to say definitively, and we do need to move on. But
yeah, let's move on. But
again, I think ultimately you sway Tim and I over. I think you're right. I do think that if they're going to continue to go this route, it needs to be characters, like you said, that have so much of a significance that their influence on the plot is undeniable. Because if not, why include them? If it's about street smuggler down the street who was affected by the spillover of the Death Star crashing, why do we care? They're going to be dead anyway.
And that's why I don't care about Cal Kestis. That's part of the reason too.
He's almost too backdated to matter. Like, even if he grows as a character, it's like you're set back in such a time period that you would have to be, by definition, an old man to still be alive in this current
And
era.
then who's going to be his main villain? A Sith that didn't die, or a Jedi that turned evil that didn't die. That's all you got.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right.
Where were these Inquisitors during the movie? That's what I'm saying.
They're being saved for Star Wars 10. Don't you worry.
All right,
man. What's his name? Taika Waititi got you, bro.
Hey, yo, chill. Chill.
He's gonna improv them right into that movie.
Ooh, boy. I'm gonna call Chris Hemsworth up real quick.
All right. To move on, we'll hit some quicker topics and then get pretty much into Xbox. So Cyberpunk DLC was released. Idris Elba getting that gaming money bag. It seems 10 times over. Given the state that Cyberpunk launched in, given the I can't even call it a meme. They've been turned into a punchline when it comes to how to not do your rollout for your next big game. Do you guys feel like, and it doesn't have to be specifically for Cyberpunk, although I think they're probably the biggest offender. Do you guys feel like this DLC is enough to redeem Project Red and redeem the game in audiences like us eyes?
I'd say it will be a good start. Because graphically the game is beautiful. There are many patches in right now, and for example, like look what happened with No Man's Skies. To this day, bro, they're still releasing more expansions, bro, and that is the perfect example of a company that is committed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if this Cyberpunk has that level of commitment, they could turn this around.
Okay.
Like I said, bro, No Man's Skies had the same type of backlash, bro, and they just
kept on pushing. Mm-hmm.
They came back with a vengeance, and it's kind of like they're almost like like they're almost on the par with like GTA crossing multiple console generations. It's like, bro, how many updates y'all about to release, bro? Like, It's like every couple of months, like you would think the game is done. They congratulations to them, new expansion.
Right.
So like I said, they definitely want to get back into good graces because especially with The Witcher Season 3 coming out and to add more to that series, they want something concrete to give their audience to say, don't lose faith in us. you know, shit happens, you know, but we're adamant in fixing it. So I mean, we'll see in the long run, but I have faith in him. I just have simple faith, and time will prove that.
Okay. Joy?
Yeah, Tim made a good point. You can make a comeback nowadays because the game doesn't just like end. You can do live edits. It'll take longer. Cyberpunk really let me down, man. You knew that was my game, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Cyberpunk genre. You know, the era. I watched Blade Runner 2039? I watch it religiously. I watch Doom. I like futuristic aesthetics, man. Like it's me. That's where I'm the most alive. When I play Metal Gear Solid virtually every year, February, I'm happy. Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear Solid 4. I watch the cutscenes when I'm doing a deep clean in my room because of just the technology and stuff like that. But even though Cyberpunk's a little bit more advanced, one of my favorite games is Deus Ex. Human Revolution. One of my favorite games. I play it because I love the futuristic status. I love seeing the complexities. Yo, am I human anymore? Am I not human? Even though that's not the case in Cyberpunk, cyberpsychosis is a theme. You know, how many implants do I get before I go crazy?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I find that I love about Cyberpunk, but it really let me down. So with Phantom Liberty, is it going to give me the Cyberpunk that I've always wanted? I don't know.
The impression seemed to indicate that it's a step of good faith, a step in the right direction.
Yeah. And I feel that's where we should just leave it.
Yeah.
Like, don't expect more than that. Just give it as a sign of good faith to build up off of. Because like how you said, man, I do feel like this current console cycle is going to last a little bit longer than usual due to like, you know, the issues we've been facing. Yes, we may get updated hardware, but I do feel like we're going to see, like, in terms of like longevity with games now these days, a bit more because like how I said earlier, No Man's Skies and GTA proved that, bro. This thing could last multiple console generations, bro. We don't have to go nowhere. We don't. So,
do you guys feel like, and we don't have to get too deep onto this, do you guys feel like situations like Cyberpunk, situations like No Man's Sky, even GTA 5, do you guys feel like we're slowly moving away from the traditional game sequel where, you know, for the price of an expansion pack, you can kind of implement a lot of the same things that you were going to plan for a sequel into the core game and still move forward?
Yes.
Okay.
You know which game was a perfect example of that? The Little Big Planet. When they did their expansions, like I remember the Pirates of the Caribbean expansion added water. And I was like, wow, like this was something on the caliber that you thought a sequel would have. But like even when they brought the sequel in, it's like yeah, you saw the changes, but then it's like, wow, like yeah, you could really tell, like, man, you don't really have to do a new sequel for these type of things no more. Like give us that hefty patch. It's gonna hurt me.
Real?
If I want it, and you know I'll make space for it. Because the Storm games are a prime example right now. Like we are in a current predicament. It's like, bro, this could have been DLC for Storm 4.
Yeah.
Like it really could have, because it's like you're really selling us an entirely new game for something that we barely see any change in.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, right? I think, you know, another example too would be Xenoverse 2, right? We've been playing Xenoverse 2 for the past 7 years, right? So I think sometimes there's ways in which it works, and other times you're right, where it's like, bro, please
Stop.
Just cut it out.
It's the psychopaths that's playing the game to this day, man. I gotta blame them. Psychopaths.
Cut it out. It's not that good. It's not that good.
Gohan 9, man. When I saw the Beats Gohan trailer.
Yeah. Not for nothing. They still needed to kind of end it, but Beast Gohan was done really well in that game. That's all I'll say.
Good. I still didn't unlock it.
All right. I just want to get you guys quick thoughts. I mean, I'm sure we'll kind of revisit it soon, right? Now that the savage return of live service games is on the rise. So I'm just wondering, you know, if publishers are moving this way of like we're going for the ideal 4, 5, 6, 7 year game cycle. You know, these are things that would normally be planned for a sequel. But if there's enough of the core game there, you know, can you support it through an expansion? You know, can things kind of take the Destiny 2 route where it's like there's enough post game to kind of be a new game, and us as fans be like, this is cool. Like Tim said, I'll get another hard drive and figure it out to continue playing this game.
I do feel like at a certain point they do need to establish like a cutoff point, because like that's like Destiny and Xenoverse. It's like, bro, can we like move on already?
Right.
Can we move on? No, so I do feel like yes, like at a certain point you do need a cutoff point, but it's hard to, like how you said again the argument earlier. If the core game is still there, it's technically still in the same cycle,
right?
So it's kind of like you gotta just, you know, you either pay for it or you don't.
Okay, all right. The other big segment of our discussion today of all things Game Fest, Xbox Showcase. Right, this was their time to prove. You know, like we discussed, the PlayStation Showcase was not as critically acclaimed as some thought it would have been. You know, obviously, overall, we all thought it was pretty good. I thought that they did a good enough job, but you know, it wasn't the home run that we thought we were going to get from the showcase. With Xbox, Jory, you know, you are a regional Xbox defender. You know, you are the last Microsoft champion on on this podcast. So I'll let you kick off this segment. What did you think about the Xbox Showcase?
It's a step in the right direction for them. It wasn't amazing, not for me, because I'm a very particular Xbox person. So a lot of the banter, I like Microsoft because of the ecosystem. I like it because it has longevity. I have games that I've had since the original Xbox, now on here. It's just it works. It's a system for me because of the games that I actually really like. I like Halo. That's one of my favorite games. So I wasn't really. I was happy that they had a product that was presentable, being Starfield. Fable, that was in game. That was actually how the game looked. I like the direction Fable's going. Fable seems to have its own personality, and that's all I want for the console to have. Mm-hmm. They're starting to come into. I think Phil Spencer's plan is starting to take fruition, because what people don't realize is he's building an infrastructure so that when he does have a creative person, they don't get treated like an EA. They don't get treated like a like kind of like what happened with Redfall, because his attention was all focused here. Mm-hmm. So next time he learns, he's going to find out what happened and why it happened. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be the language amongst everybody now, right? Because we all know a AAA company, Triple S company like CD Projekt Red can fall down if they give us a bad product. You're going to charge us $80? We're going to be very unforgiving, right? So I think overall the show was cool. I'm glad Fable finally got some time. I played the first Fable. First Fable was my favorite. Didn't really care about 2. But besides that, I like that they're getting a groove. They're getting some hump on this step. It's a step in the right direction. Wasn't there? You know, I wanted to see a Killer Instinct. I wanted to see a Gears of War. Stuff that mainly like me, mainly games for me. I'm glad that the JRPGs are taking more of have more of a presence now, more than ever. Like I can confidently not like be in fear unless it's a Final Fantasy hold that Sony puts on. You know what I'm saying? I can finally, with confidence, expect to get a game from Japan. You know, a game that I would like to play. A Gundam SD game doesn't have to be on the Xbox because of the type of clientele or the people in the community. But for me and others like me that are into action role-playing games, JRPGs, things that people would find to be niche, there's a space there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider myself like an average gamer because I can play pretty much any game, but I do have my particular games and styles. I'm an action guy. I like good storylines. Devil May Cry is my favorite game, but because of the people in the community, that game probably won't be number one on charts as far as Xbox sales. You know, but I'm glad that Phil Spencer recognizes that it's up to him to break that stigma of it's just a shooter console. It's only for like Call of Duty heads and bots or whatever and whatnot. But it's a step in the right direction. I'm not really mad at it. I wasn't really impressed. It didn't have anything I was interested in, so it's always going to be a C. It's always going to be a C. And that's it. No Killer Instinct. Nothing. I want to see some of the games that they've made in the past confidently make a return. None. I didn't see any of those. The reason why the games of the service term, the fighting game season pass originated from Killer Instinct. It did not exist before.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Instinct is the originator as to how fighting games now are marketed. Yeah, man. I mean, pretty much there was nothing that spoke to me. I'm happy. Starfield is something I'm definitely gonna play. I never got into those.
It looks
Fallout
good.
games.
It looks
good.
good.
I never got into those Fallout games because of when I didn't feel like playing in the first person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to give me a custom character, right? I'm spending all this money on aesthetics, and all I gotta see is my toes. And if I want to see myself, I gotta go in a hub lobby and start juking, and
Mm-hmm.
like that's just not. It just doesn't make any sense. Why make me customizable? Just give me a sticker or something that I can choose. Just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Xbox does have a lot of first person games, and I'm glad this game in first person looks just as good as it does in third person.
Mm-hmm.
My character, I can interact. I do like games where you make your own choices and it doesn't go according to plan. It's going to be different for everybody. I love games like that, So yeah, overall, I ain't really too mad. It was cool. I'm glad that they showed me something of promise. Fable looks like it's going to function well. Fable looks like it has the backing that it needs. The humor was there. It was its own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I want, Frozen Motorsports, I can barely tell the difference now of a real car from a fake car. I'm thinking it's a screensaver. I'm thinking it's a real car. Okay, you guys have perfected that game. Give some help to the other studios now.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say. I mean, you guys are welcome to comment. I'll read, I'll jump in.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Only thing that I was looking forward to, because I was very pissed that this studio got bought, was Hellblade. I was really looking forward to like a sequel because I really did like the overall, vision of the game, like about mental illness, but like within like the Norse mythology, like illusion, psychosis, things of that nature, grief, and and it really showed in the aesthetic of the world. So, like, when I found out, it was getting the number 2, and I was like, so.
Right. Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, I'm just literally just stuck with the first one. So I just gotta, say like, well, that's how life is, But other than that, Starfield looks great. Nice little sci-fi genre. So looking forward to see, what promise that brings. Yeah, man, it's just, this is the new wave of how companies do their releases now. So we just got to realize, this is the new, I would say, bare minimum or way of distribution. So, like, don't expect these big theater opera presentations anymore. It's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They want to put their money towards other things.
Yeah, I agree overall with Tim majority. I think it was fine, right? I think it. I guess my thing is like it's tricky for Xbox, and I kind of I don't want to say sympathize, so it's not like I feel bad or anything like that, but like they're in a tough position, right? They're in a tough position where, Phil Spencer said to themselves that they had to put themselves in a place. He's like, we're in last place, right? We're in last place to Nintendo. We're in last place to PlayStation. And there's nothing that we can announce or release that's going to say I should buy an Xbox. We don't have one already. But I think, to Jory's point, I think this showcase was a good template of this is how you move when you don't have anything to lose, right? There's nothing lower than last place, right? So when you have that kind of creative freedom of like, okay, I don't have to hit y'all over the head with AAA banger, AAA banger, AAA banger. I can still focus on a couple of things that I think is going to be received very well. I think they definitely made it a very clear point to promote to their core fan base, right? This wasn't and here's why the Nintendo user should buy an Xbox, right? This was like, if you already have an Xbox, here's the things that we're doing to kind of make sure that you guys feel satisfied with your purchase. We don't want y'all to abandon ship. We don't want y'all to think that we're going to keep giving you guys Redfalls for the next 5 years. Like we're really trying to get back to a new ground level and slowly win you guys back those exclusive that you have bought for this console, right? The console wars as we know it, in my opinion, are over, right? It's not like the glory days of you have the GameCube, you have the Xbox, you have the PS2, right? I think they've all kind of divided into their subgenres pretty well, right? Nintendo, you're gonna get again their mascot games, their party games, the games that your parents technically could pick up and play competently, right? Sony, they've essentially mastered the third-person action adventure genre, and like Jory said, Xbox for the longest time, if you wanted to play a graphically sound shooter, you bought yourself an Xbox, right? And I think they're doing a good job of like pulling back in like other genres. I think to Dory's point, like it would have definitely benefited them heavily to have announced like a Killer Instinct. That would have been like, you have certain games you're like, damn,
But
I wish I had that. Mm-hmm.
But just like how you said, the different ecosystems, like, that's where, like, you do see a little bit of competitiveness. Like, when Sony bought Evo, basically, that's them saying, we're about to take over the fighting game community.
Right.
Or even like, I would say the esports scene in general. Like, they want that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shooters, fighters, they want that. And that's where they really pushing because they realize, like, yes, the story games are good, but we do recognize the volume of people who come in for, the esports titles. Like, look, for example, people are still upset that, Virtua Fighter was a console exclusive with PlayStation and just like where everybody else is like, yo, so we're not getting it. But then it's kind of like, in terms of a fighter, what for? The owner of the fighting game community is
Sony.
So, so with like, when they had the showcase on Smash Brothers, is basically saying like, all right, well, Nintendo, you got to come through us if you want to show it.
Mm-hmm. But I guess like to that point though, Tim, do you feel, because like my thing is like I feel like Xbox doesn't have the tools just yet to fully fight back. Like obviously they can't lay down and play peaceful, right? They gotta throw their hat to the ring somehow. But do you feel like this was a showcase of them to be like, no, we're making a strong claim in this subgenre or this ecosystem, as opposed to I'm all about the quote unquote going to war, but you got to feed your people. You got to feed your people.
It definitely was feed the people. Like, hey, we understand you're upset, but this is all that we got. And that's literally the vibe that you got.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the vibe that you got. So there's no beef with that. So
yeah,
they did what they had to do, and we're just moving on with it.
Yeah, I'd say my only critique, our main critique, would be that a lot of these games, although a lot of them did show some form of gameplay, did not have release dates. I think Fable 3 being shown gameplay without a release date was a mistake, because we've all known that this game was essentially being made for years now. Like the leaks on it were pretty, like we knew it was being made. So for it to, yes, come out with a very strong trailer and, like, hey, it looks like it's in the right direction thus far, for it to not have a release date, even if it's for next year, is not, what I'm saying? Like, this is not how you, again, feed your people. Like, yes, you guys are getting Fable 3, but we know that you're getting a Fable 3. So here's just some signs that we're doing it well. But it's like, but when does it come out? When do we get to play this? When do we get to see, more in-engine capabilities other than a very small teaser of a combat system? So that was kind of like my own thing. I was like, glad y'all announced it officially, but also coming soon ain't gonna cut it for where y'all at right now. You guys need release dates to kind of, again, rebuild that ecosystem for themselves. Last topic for the evening. All right. We do claim to be also an anime podcast. Storm Connections. After months of drought, we finally got some form of new trailer during the Game Fest, and we talked about this during the group chat, and it's funny because the public perception, right, is that we have these big Japanese companies that aren't doing quote unquote enough with their franchises that they own, right? And everyone runs back immediately. Dragon Ball. Oh, why hasn't the Super Series returned? Why hasn't this? Why haven't we gotten an adaptation of the Moro arc? Why haven't we done this, that, and third? All legitimate complaints. However, looking at the way Connections rollout has been handled, I'm like, Naruto is going through right now. Naruto is going through what Bleach went through during the PS3 era. Of like, again, we talked about this. Connections, it's quiet as kept. People don't talk about it enough. But there was a time where the Storm franchise was low-key carrying Naruto. You would see a fight that wasn't animated the best. And you're like, you know what? I ain't even tripping. Because CyberConnect 2 is going to make that thing look amazing. And that will come through. Right? It got to the point where even when Storm 4 dropped, until the anime got to it, there was a toss-up about who adapted the Storm 4, who adapted the Shippuden ending the best, right? And CyberConnect 2's name was thrown into the hat of like, it was done in a cinematic way. You were watching essentially an animated page for page of the panels. I'd argue that they probably handled the Kaguya fight better than the anime, to be honest. With Sasuke throwing blows, Naruto throwing blows, Sakura throwing blows. It kind of gave that final boss feel for real, as opposed to how she was handled in the manga and anime, right? So, for as much as I feel that CyberConnect 2 has undoubtedly gotten lazier over the years, you can't deny the impact that they've had in carrying the Naruto franchise from a clear love of it. But here it is now that we're in Connections. We're barely getting Twitter updates. Even the rollout of the character reveals is all over the place. Right, so it's like, for as good as this trailer was in hindsight, I'm like, this game was announced 3-4 months ago, and we're just now getting trailers for Kawaki, Boruto, and Jigen, and it's just like it's there's no continuity to it. So for obviously we're getting a new Naruto and Sasuke because we always do, but it's just kind of like you announce Indra and Ashura. We still haven't seen their gameplay, but they're also past characters. So it's clearly not a Boruto-focused game, which we kind of expected. But what's the thought process here? Is this Revolutions? Revolutions going to kind of just toss in whoever. Is this the 4.5 Naruto game? Are those rumors that we heard like a year ago about them actually working on a Storm 5? Is that still a thing? Is this supposed to be the Storm 5? Right? You go to the anime is on hiatus because everyone's tired of the filler. The manga, is a place of contention, right? Where some people seem to love it. I think the manga, concept-wise, has some good ideas, but it's very, very uneven and lopsided in terms of storytelling. And I'm like, Naruto might be the series that's struggling the most in terms of the big-name animes of having a current presence. They ain't getting no arc system fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not getting the undeniable bangers that Naruto was once known for. Tim knows I'll be dead. Tim be like, you got Storm? I'm like, Tim, it's downloading the install on my PS3 right now. I have it. It's bought. And now I'm just like, Connections. Oh, wow. Super cinematic angle. Oh, wow. Big explosion. Yeah. So, but what are you guys' thoughts? Both on the Connections and the Naruto in 2023.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I was never a diehard fan of the Naruto games, man.
I remember you saying that. I think you're wrong, but go ahead.
I don't take them seriously.
I know you
I
don't.
think it's
Match to win. I get it.
I treat it the same way when I see a new Lego Star Wars. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. No, yeah, that's it. Cinematically, yeah, no, the cinematics is CyberConnect too. Like I enjoyed as much as people didn't. I was mad at first, but then I took it for what it was. I liked the Zura's Wrath.
Oof. You on an
You
island by
know,
yourself.
I mean,
At least in this podcast, I know there's people who love
you know,
Asura's Wrath.
when I say I liked it, like I finished it. You know, I
Mhm.
didn't just stop playing because I was mad because it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, but I finished it. But I can't deny that some of the stuff that took place during the cutscenes in the Zura's Wrath was mind blowing.
It was.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and with the Naruto games, man, it's just like I always never understood why the Japanese companies never would give the budget a AAA budget to these amazing worlds. Why in the world? Like Naruto's world is so immersive. Why not give us a war where all the Kages from the past existed? Right? Like, why not give us a game? But they never give us a game. They almost do the same template that Dragon Ball Z does. Let's play this saga, that saga, and that saga, and sell it to them again with new perks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, dog, like, come on, man. Like, it's not the same universe. It's more in depth. It has more depth to it. The first Naruto game for the PS3 to me was the best one.
The original Storm?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was Storm 3. From the one that dropped in 07.
Yes, the Storm 1.
Okay. Because the way it looked, the angles were interesting at the time, right? The angles that they had were interesting. And then with Storm, you had the hub world. You had the little mini games where it was like Naruto's was actually running on trees, like in the anime. Like, where's that at? You know what I'm saying? Why not allow us to be in that ninja world? And then when we do fight, we're going into the arena. You know, kind of like how Tales of Arise does it, or a Dragon Quest game does it. Let me explore. Let me be a ninja. You know, let me be a ninja. Like that's how I would have. I never understood why they don't put the backing budget behind these games, because those properties are very deep. Those properties have amazing worlds, man. I don't get it, and I just never personally, because of that, I'm like, do they not realize what they have on their hands here?
But I guess, and before I let Tim get his point off, I guess my question for you then would be: is it more so that you have a critique that there's not enough diversity in Naruto games? Because essentially, like, you can't expect the Storm franchise to be everything to everybody, right? I think you can't necessarily expect a cinematic story, a hub world being built, and a competent fighting system all from one publisher. That's just that you can't. Right, I even look at ArcSys. My biggest critique, and I told you guys both of this separately, and you know when we talk about them, I think ArcSys is terrible at making story modes. They're horrible at it. They suck. They're not good, but their fighting systems are amazing. The complexity to the characters and the individuality of the characters are great. They could use a little bit more work in their game modes outside of one-on-one fights, but like I can't expect ArcSys to hit every single note. I'm not going to sit there and say that Fighters was trash just because I didn't like the story mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like with CyberConnect 2, it's very clear that their bread and butter is in their cinematic visuals and cinematic storytelling. So do you knock them in the sense of like, for the same reasons that I liked Asura's Wrath, I don't like it in Naruto?
I just don't feel like the combat is deep, man. Like I always hated arena fighters. And as far as like Naruto, it's not like Power Stone. Power Stone, punch, kick, up, you fight for stone and you call it a day. Over Naruto, it's like I know this guy can do way more than what I'm being allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that's where the frustration comes in for me. So because I almost feel cheated. So I never felt the combat system was that deep anyway. So it was just like, it's just, the main focus for me was never the combat. That's why I never took those games serious. I felt like they were more focused on the cinematic approach. I don't see anybody doing tournaments at Evo for a Naruto Ninja Storm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure people do it, but I don't think it's because it's not that deep. I don't think it was made to be deep either.
Well, first of all, it's because the fighting online is literally like a cat fight, like how you saw in them old cartoons where they rolling a ball. That's what online fighting is, bro. It gives you vertigo, like the amount of substitutions back and forth.
It's whoever runs out substitutes fastest.
Oh, it's a lot, man. But to go into my point, I do feel the combat has been dated ever since Storm 2. I do feel that, they just kind of stuck with that little template from like Storm 2 and Generations, and they're just running with it. Mm-hmm. And now, even as to where they are now, is just like everything is a god tier character. And I did feel like, that defeated the whole purpose of Boruto. Boruto was supposed to be like a soft reset-ish. And then, to be honest, it happened with Dragon Ball Z. Now it's happening here, is where you're boosting up this next generation to just renege all over again. Because, like, right now, the biggest selling point is like, oh, it's Naruto, Boruto connections. But, like, bro, the Boruto side of the story is kind of, like, questionable because most of the good characters that we got are fillers.
Yeah.
Or the ones I say that are good and that they add variety are fillers, because if you really just count from the stuff that we got from the manga, is just aliens, a few cyborgs, and a couple of kids he went to school with. Mm-hmm. But you still haven't really shown what these kids are fully capable of. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just focusing on the big three, which is Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki. Like, even Mitsuki's kind of like taking like the back seat now. Mm-hmm. So this dude got a sage mode, he got wind and lightning, and that's it. Like, Sarada getting all these power-ups. She's starting to really know more about the Uchiha legacy in terms of what the clan was known for. And Boruto is just this this character that's just getting power up over, and it's weird. It's in a very weird place, man. Storm Connections, I'm not very hyped about it. I do feel like this could, like at my point earlier, this all could have been DLC. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you added past characters like Ashura and Indra, so I kind of felt like, well, you didn't give us Kurenai and Anko. Mm-hmm. You didn't give us all the characters from the war. And, even Jory Point said, like, I want all the Kages, bro. Because, like, in the anime, you showed us all their faces. Mm-hmm. Because apparently you found out that basically all the Kages in the Sand Village, they're all related. Like,
okay.
Mars family is technically like royalty. They call them the Kazekage clan. So that means the first one and the second one were brothers. And then that means the third was probably like a son. And now I'm thinking, like, was that the brother to Gaara's father? Mm-hmm. Because you realize he was very young when he got killed by Sasori. He was very young. So, and even in terms of, what's the other one? Like, even like the Earth Village as well. You kind of basically found out like most of them were related as well. The only one who's questionable was the second one, to do with the bandages. Mm-hmm. But it's like, there's so much rich lore that, that the war kind of opened up, like, about, like, the feud between the villages in the past. But it's just kind of like, the game is basically copy and paste. And it's like, bro, like, if it's not fireballs and a few water dragons, that's it. Like, there's no real depth to the story. And I kind of a game that focused so much about, different elemental styles and Kekkei Genkais. I kind of felt like around like Storm 2, they kind of just took a seat behind. Like, yeah, Storm 3 gave us all the Jinkyurikis. It gave us like, the current Kages of the time. But I just kind of felt like, well, bro, we didn't get the Scorch user. We didn't get the explosive user.
True.
Like there was some, like you basically did the Sound 4 all over again. Like, bro, there was some key fights in the war that it's like, so we basically got the Gold and Silver brothers, but they're just a boss battle. It's like, so we don't really see like a tag team version of these dudes with these legendary ninja
Right.
It's
a
like,
Ninja Tools based character that's not named Tintin. Yeah. Good point.
It's like there's a lot of stuff, and even like on the I'll expand more on Storm 3. The Kage guards. Like the only person who became a playable character was Daru because of Gale style. But it's like you had so many other characters that you could have added such a good depth about. Like, even the current one is like now it's like, all right, are we going to get the new Kages? Because remember, one of the characters that we didn't get from Storm 3 is now a Kage. Well, two actually.
Yeah, two of them. Mm-hmm.
Two of them are Kages now. So it's kind of like, are you going to pull the cop out and give us a skin or just to cover both plates? So it's kind of like, yeah, like you're starting to really see that their laziness, man. And it's like, I kind of wish like a new company would just take over right now. And just like, like I said, Arc System Works did a great job with Fighter Z. They did a good job with, even the Ruby series, like, which we've ever done is just an anime. And it's like, when I saw them characters integrated into the Blaze Blue universe, I was like, bro, this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
This is graphically beautiful. And I kind of feel like, somebody else needs to take over because CyberConnect 2 has just been on a very, like, slow grind. And we could tell from Generations, like, to Revelations that this is just a filler game.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ever do get a Storm 5, where is it going to take place? Or even where the manga is right now. Like, technically Boruto is going to be a 4-year time skip. Are we waiting till these Genin become actually legit fighters? Like, almost like basically this is their era of Shippuden to add them to a game?
It's hard to say because none of them outside of, maybe Chocho or just a few other characters have done anything that is moveset worthy, right? For all we know, it's like not for nothing. Like, yes, we know he has wind style techniques, but Shikamaru's son is basically Shikamaru. Like there's not enough to kind of make them be like, wow, this person has their own unique flair. I don't know. It's just, as we were talking about, especially in the group chat and to the points that Tim brought up, it's like, it's such a weird place because it's not like obviously we know out of the big like shonen, right? One Piece is probably the most lore dense anime that we've gotten, right? But then you look at Naruto, like Naruto's probably right there, not for nothing in terms of just what's been established. It's not Bleach, it's not Dragon Ball, which are a little bit they're not superficial, but a little bit more superficial in comparison. And like what Tim said is like we kind of just skim over these things, like, oh yeah, so this person used to have like a blood flu. This person, wait, what? Yeah, but back to Naruto and Sasuke. No, go back. It's like these once in a generation Kekkei Genkais that get reduced to a novel story somewhere. It's just like why aren't we tapping more into this?
Yeah, bro. Like Kakashi invented a whole new fighting style to compensate for the loss of his Sharingan, bro. But you don't are we gonna get a new Kakashi? This is the prime Hokage Kakashi, not that skin that you gave us. No. Is this the prime Hokage Kakashi? Because when you read his novel, bro, this dude basically stopped the world from going crazy. Like, he was able to make peace and let peace be peace. But it's like, well, where's all of this? Like, where are all these elements? And even in terms of Naruto and Sasuke, like, you find out, like, yeah, these dudes have all the chakra natures, but they're still showing the same type of movesets. Or that you don't even care no more. Like, with this new Naruto, the biggest thing that I was happy to see was, like, oh, he did a foxtail rotation. Because, he married a Hyuga. That is beautiful to see. And then, even with Boruto was on a good stat because I did see a lot of like a fusion of the Shadow Clone Jutsu fused with the Hyuga style.
Right.
But I kind of felt like once Rasengan came in there,
he became Naruto Jr. Literally.
that's it. And then,
Literally.
and now the fact that, he's basically a Jinchuriki now is kind of like...
Right. He's a Jinchuriki with a curse mark at the same time. And Sarada, despite not having mastered her Sharingan, now has a Mangekyo. So there's also that too. It's just, I don't know.
Wait. Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait, stop.
Yep.
Stop.
Yes.
You said Mangekyo Sharingan?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
How old is she?
Well, about 13, 14, maybe. Same age as Itachi. But here's a stark difference, right? Itachi, sweet ends up, killing himself, whatever. Grief of loss. Itachi gets him Mangekyo Sharingan. We know the story. Sarada felt really, really bad for Boruto. And unlocked her Mangekyo.
The power of friendship.
Yeah. She felt really bad because of what was happening.
The power of friendship.
And went to go cry to her dad. And you saw Mangekyo tears.
The power of friendship. My goodness. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a question. What happened to the storyline about the 7 swordsmen? Legendary swordsmen?
Doesn't matter. Suigetsu lives with Orochimaru now.
Suigetsu got complacent. You saw all the swords. They were returned to the village. They got new users, but they were technically criminals. But, some of them got rehabilitated. But then, they're still fillers.
I heard Zabuza came back.
Huh?
Zabuza came back.
No, Zabuza's dead.
Zabuza didn't come back?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it whose son?
Kasami. Kasami's son came back. Or not came back, but Kasami had a son, basically.
Well, actually, no, he was a clans member.
Okay, right.
The only person who had a child was Raiga, which is another filler character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, and that's where I feel like, as the games come in, that's kind of like an issue, bro. Because it's kind of like, all right, bro, you got to kind of use some of these fillers for Boruto, bro. Because especially when they went back to the Hit and Miss, that clan that they fought, that was the most detailed filler that they ever had. And it was good. It was good. So it was kind of like, bro, I want these characters from this particular filler.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are we going to do? Because I do feel like if you do a Boruto game, I do feel, don't give us the pre-time skip characters. Don't give us the Shippuden characters. Give us the last versions of them.
Mm.
And then now give us their Boruto era ones. Because I do feel like the last, especially when we read the novels, bro, a lot of interesting stuff happened during that era. A lot of interesting stuff. And it would be cool to see what their post-war fighting styles look like.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, after the war, everybody got promoted to Jonin. You already know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a Jonin right now. Shikamaru is the Hokage's second in command.
That's true.
Basically took his father's role and elevated.
It's true. And they're not just there just for advisory purposes.
He proved himself.
Yeah, he said he leveled up. And then, in terms they fought a lot of rogue ninja because a lot of people were leaving their villages because of what happened. A lot of people blamed the Leaf Village for what happened because the primary suspects were all basically Leaf ninjas. Yeah. So it was kind of there was a lot of interesting stuff that really happened, man. And then, of course, yes, let the Boruto characters be a soft reset, bro. Because, first of all, you got these kids who are fusions of characters. Chocho uses the butterfly style for a fashion statement, but let her fuse that into her fighting style. She would use the butterfly to gain speed, but then when she's in your face, hit this big mountain fist in your face, fused with lightning chakra because her mom comes from the lightning village. And Sai and Ino's kid, Like to this day, you've only shown more of Sai.
Right, with the paint.
One time you showed Ino was a filler.
Mm-hmm.
Was a filler, and it's like these kids they're really tippy toeing around them. Like the one kid who has the most, I would say, detailed fighting style that we know about is Awabi, and he's a super senior. Like the man, he's very prominent in Earth style. He uses a mallet. Cool. Even the that group with all girls, the one who has that little cat cloak, and it's like, yes, she's a rush down Yamcha character.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the rest of these kids, like we just don't know what they're truly like. Like I said, Shikidai is a prime example, bro. I felt like they made him too much like Shikamaru. Like I felt like you should have gave him the genius of Shikamaru, but the attitude of his mother.
Right, and the aggressiveness of his mother.
Because it's like we've seen this is a drag. We've seen that already.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we know how this story ends. Like, and then there's a very interesting theory that's going around. That, like if Gaara dies, technically his adopted son is not going to be the next Kazekage because it's like bloodline. So that means the only person who had a child was Tamari. So that means if Gaara dies, Shikidai is next to be Kazekage.
Mm.
That would make a great, interesting story.
I guess this maybe the final topic with this, and we can kind of close out the podcast. Do you guys feel like Naruto might be heading towards like a place of non-redemption? One of the things I talked about with Tim often is that I think their over-reliance on the alien subplot has handicapped them, right? Because going back to your point about characters, if every single character has to be able to have a skirmish with Naruto and Sasuke, Boss A and Boss B of the Leaf Village, then like you said, it leaves no room for anything else. If everyone has to be capable of fighting Jigen, then there's nowhere else to go. Everyone is god tier power. Everyone, if you're not a Jiraiya clone, you are useless. And even when you're a Jiraiya clone, you're useless. If you don't have an eye technique, you're useless. For those who are listening, Jory is embodying Kira as Killer Queen of just
listen, man,
bites the dust of the
if you're born in the 90s, they would say you're George Bushing the button, and that's exactly what they need to do. George Bush the button.
It's over. Naruto's over.
Listen, it's so done. Okay, let me. We being nice. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's take out the filler. Let's be real. Aliens?
Yeah. And a story about ninjas. Mm-hmm.
With ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
Naruto's last fight was on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
No. I did not come. It went from demons. Now we fighting aliens. I always hated when those continuities get mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the Justice League episode, and I'm looking at Etrigan talk to Martian Manhunter for 30 minutes. So what is this, dog?
Y'all are from two different subsets of the same world.
It just doesn't. It's like ice cream and sherbet. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's nasty,
mm-hmm.
right? Okay, and it's like, okay. Now, even going back into Shippuden, Naruto, and even the Hashirama. Hashirama is his great the first Hokage, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're related to aliens.
Yeah.
They can't just be because they trained so hard in an era that allowed them to be like the basketball legends that we had.
Mm-hmm.
It's because in the era, the environment was conducive for those type of people to exist. Let that tell the story. It's okay for me to be like, yo, why is Superman so strong? Well, he's a Kryptonian. That's fine. He's from that planet, right? Within that context, it works. Why are people in Opalaka so wild? It's Opalaka, right? Let the environment form the character. I thought this is like storytelling 101. Aliens? Because in his mind, he needed to compete with Dragon Ball Z?
Yep. Because it's his favorite. It inspired him the most. It inspired Kishimoto the most.
Yeah, which is cool. But now we stopped doing this. And started doing this.
You guys realize in the last fight with Naruto and Sasuke, Naruto just tanks a Chidori. Like, he doesn't even dodge it. Like, he gets stabbed by Sasuke's Chidori and his Nine-Tails cloak just no. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And like I'm just no, it's done, man. We love it, man. You feel me? It's done.
Ninjas. It hits every core aspect of, especially us as millennials, of our youth. You think Three Ninjas, you think Karate Kid, you think the art of Shinobi, and like all these core things that make Naruto such a unique departure from Dragon Ball in a great way. And it's just like
the fights, people could follow the fights. I didn't have to imagine how fast Goku was going. You know how crazy that episode was for a second grader? Keep focused, Gohan. They're moving at sonic speed. Like, I almost passed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could watch the fights. When Sasuke first confronted Orochimaru in the school, that was peak Toonami, man.
And he's using tools and shuriken, and just
shurikens, his mind, techniques. Like, if someone was smarter, they can always win. The last good strategy fight that I've seen from Naruto Shippuden was Shikamaru and Kakashi teamed up. What happened to those unlikely natural team-ups that could happen in real life?
Good point.
Let's go back to like what we said a past podcast episode was like, free time skip Naruto was basically on par with like Dragon Ball. It was about technique. It was about technique and the culture of the environment of the world around them. But afterwards, like Shippuden, Z came in. Everything is a beam. Everything is a Rasengan. Everything is a Chidori. Now, a planetary devastation is like there's no room for like just like a soft reset, and that's what Boruto should have been. To be honest, that's how Boruto was marketed in the beginning.
Right.
It was soft reset.
Getting back to basics.
But then the moment Momoshiki and them arrived,
Momoshiki
is like they just threw everything away, bro. They just threw everything away.
And then if they exist, what else is out there? A Kryptonian?
Right. And then it's just weird because you think that it seems like, oh, well, the answer is we'll just nerf Sasuke and Naruto. It's like, you're too far gone. Taking away Kuramon, taking away his Rinnegan it's too late.
The appeal of a ninja is to stay within its frame. If my ninja is now in broad daylight fighting Superman, you just a swordsman kid.
Yeah, and so I mean, I do feel like whatever happens with this time skip, it's kind of like it's gonna end on a very big climax, but it's kind of like there's no more you could really do.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Because you've already set such a crazy bar where it's like, bro, what can you really do with this now? Like, because it's like it's gonna end. It's gonna end with the alien battle. It is.
If kunai ships are in the sky of Boruto, I'm done. Like
it's already gone, bro.
Kunai ships coming in. This is why kunai exists in this world.
It's already gone. In the manga, a 12-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl casts a village-wide genjutsu.
You mean an infinite Setsuyomi?
Basically.
That's why you see these news feeds is killing me, man. I can't get behind it, man.
Basically.
I can't. I'm like, you guys tarnished a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
You ruined a 1,000-year-old bottle of wine. And wine does taste better when it ages.
Yeah.
I'm heartbroken, man. I go back and I look at the fights. I'm like, what happened? The fight where Pain versus Jiraiya in the city, and he had to summon the toad.
Mm-hmm.
He had to fuse with the other frogs to sustain chakra.
Mm-hmm. Like Tim said, concepts and technique.
No stakes.
Mm-hmm.
You need technique and stakes. That's why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I'm watching them play a video game with cars. And the stakes were so high.
The world is on the line.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Stake master.
Yeah.
No fighting. Just stakes. You gotta understand, I'm a 12-year-old boy who's used to watching Power Rangers and people get kicked through windows by Jean-Claude Van Damme on a continuous basis. The story to make me sit down and want to buy a card had to be compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiba versus Yugi. Hey, Yugi, look, man, I can't beat you, but I'm going to jump off this cliff. Cheetah! I'm yelling at the screen, dog.
But then
Punch in the air.
But then you realize it's to save his younger brother, the only family he has left. And you're just like,
Oh, now with a dimension to die. Yo. What's y'all? Something still kid. Okay, nah, man. No, but yo.
Mokuba's in good hands. I got it from here.
Nah, I could stand Mokuba, bro. Couldn't stand Mokuba, dog.
But I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like, we didn't bring up enough anime in our talks usually. And I think Connections was a great way to kind of talk about the underdog that is Naruto, right? I think Naruto, more so than Dragon Ball, more so than Bleach, more so than a lot of these animes, they were like, oh, they're not doing anything with them. I'm like, bro, Naruto has not had a movie announced, hasn't had a quality rollout for a game, nothing.
Dragon Ball Z is right there, man.
It is.
It's not in a good position. They're even talking about rebooting Dragon Ball because it's so messed up. They keep seeing people go back to the martial arting fights.
Yeah,
people keep making fun. People keep making fun. It's so sad that the Xenoverse 10-minute episodes are better than any
the Dragon Ball Heroes. Yeah.
I was so mad. I'm like, why is this happening?
We're getting better payoffs in Dragon Ball Heroes than we are getting in the Dragon Ball series. It's true.
In 10 minutes.
It's true. I saw, what was it? It was a screenshot of a Bardock, Goku, and Future Gohan family attack. And I was like, I never knew I needed this. Okay.
Parts blew me away as a villain.
Great villain. Great concept. Great design, actually. But, in wrapping things up, we will have to kind of reapproach. I think that's a good concept for a future episode of where do the iconic animes of our time stand nowadays? What was lost? What was appreciated? And can they be salvaged? I think even for a teaser, I'm like, Naruto might be done, bro. I don't know if there's anything else they could do.
It's a well done steak. You cannot revert
it. Yeah. Well, with that being said, fellas, thank you so much. Once again, I appreciate y'all joining me for another episode. I know this one started later than we planned to. Life be lifing. Hopefully, we'll look back on this and be like, man, remember those times where we had to juggle work?
Yeah, martinis.
Right.
The Charlie laugh. Oh, man, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, once again, appreciate y'all. Again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in from wherever you tune in, and we'll be back with another episode.